head baseball coach Justin Hill. Since the last time we spoke with you, your team's been picked second preseason poll, and you've had small conference selections preseason. Just talk about that, if that means anything at all to you preseason. Your reaction to those two.
Yeah, I mean, I get excited. I get excited for the guys when they get the the recognition. I always think that's fun, getting to see who their teammates post about it on social media and on their stories, and their family gets a chance to recognize them, and they're honored for what they've done in the past. I think that's great. As far as the preseason, I think that it's not for me, but I do think there's some value in it for some folks. But I appreciate the recognition that our players get, that our program gets from your peers, whether it be the head coaches, and the rest of the head coaches and SIDs in the conference. So that that always feels good, but we don't put a whole lot of stock in that.
And just talk about how preparations are going as we're finally entering a game week.
Yeah, just glad to kind of finally have everybody out there, whether it be again COVID or contact tracing or health. We're starting to get a few guys back healthy. Still not quite where we want to be from a health standpoint, and as far as how many innings guys can throw right now. But we kind of talked about it with the guys, said, hey, February the 18th is coming, whether, no matter who's healthy, whatever. I said, we got games scheduled, and we got to be ready for it, whichever players that are ready to go. But as of today, we're, from a health standpoint, we're in pretty good shape. No surprises right now. Just like everybody else, big COVID test on Wednesday. We'll get the results back on Thursday. So never say never, especially nowadays. So, but hopefully everything will be, we'll kind of, go the direction that it did last year. And, we won't have, the number of issues maybe we had in the fall.
No. First of all, have you picked the Friday night guy?
Yeah. We actually talked about it with our coaches. So Ty actually alluded to it earlier, that he was out all fall. And then Bryson Hudgens was the same way, was out all fall. Just some nagging things, maybe something that we potentially could have pushed through had there been games. And Grant Rogers was really had a really good fall for us. And then the majority of his outings, the more outings than not, were really good for him coming up. So I would say, again, I'm careful to say this. I don't think there's an ace on the staff right now. I think an ace is somebody that you can just pick out. I don't think that's something, a title you bestow on somebody. But somebody's got to pitch Friday night. And I think all three, whether it be Grant or Ty or Bryson, are all have all put in the work. Would be surprised. I don't think their teammates would be surprised at all if any of those guys were starting on which game. But Bryson's going to go this first game. I don't know how long that he's going to last. Just from he actually didn't make the first weekend because of COVID. So we've had to kind of drive his pitch count up a little bit, kind of as we've, in a shortened stint. So you'll probably see a lot of guys throw this weekend. And I say that not from a negative thing, but you heard the guys talk about, I think they really like their teammates. And so I don't know if we'll set a school record for people coming in the game, but we've got some guys coming back. Chance Stone is coming back from an injury. He suffered an injury opening weekend last year, and is coming back and has progressed really well during his rehab. He's thrown live, so you could see him. Just a different. I don't know exactly the best way to deploy our pitching resources just yet. Other than Foster. I think if the game's on the line and we've got 9 to 12 outs to get, I think he's going to get the ball. Because we've stretched him out a little bit. We'll see how it goes. But you never know how that game's going to line up. So obviously, what Cameron has done is what he did last year, and what he's kind of done to this point has continued to give you a lot of confidence he'll be good at the back end of the ball game, and it'll be a pitching staff. I'm looking forward to seeing how it develops. I think it'll be a pitching staff unlike any team that I've ever had. I think they've kind of accepted the challenge of having more than 6 guys contribute, 6 to 8 guys that I think they want to be in the double digits to guys truly contributing to meaningful innings. So hey, we'll see how that works. I told them never say never on those things, and so they worked really hard. So we'll see how that journey begins this weekend.
All right. What about I know we talked a lot about last year. You didn't have the weekday games really to set up and kind of develop guys. How much are you looking forward to that?
Well, I mean, your midweek games, I mean, you're playing, your LSUs, your ULs, your Houstons, ULM. I mean, normally we have Tech, but we've got Tech on a weekend this year. So, development, I mean, it's more like, trial by fire, so it was probably the same way a little bit last year. The game just meant different in the conference standings. So and hey, the early part of the year, first 5 weekends, they're all the same. I mean, they're all the same. They just happen to be on different days. We're you hope that, by the time conference begins, that you have a good idea of how to use guys in which situations, bridge to closer, or, closer when, the guys that can close when the closer's not available, who can go long, can flip the line over a couple of times. The only way you can figure some of those things out is to stick them out there, because we've got guys that pitched for us, last year, that they've made some improvements. We've got guys that that are new to the program that we've only seen them against ourselves. So you got to go with what your eyes have seen, and you got to go with we kind of collaborated a little bit as a coaching staff. So we've got 27 outs to get this weekend, 27 innings to get this weekend. And then how we go about that, we just got to see who's there, and then kind of go down the list and see what the game tells us.
And with that, you kind of go into a team that you haven't really faced before.
Mhm.
What are you kind of looking to get out of this weekend, and what do you really expect to see what do you expect Stony Brook to show you?
I hope they expose some weaknesses that we have, and I hope that that we get a chance to we're just excited to play somebody else. I mean, I know it is coach speak a little bit. We focus on us, things like that. I mean, we don't put a lot of stock into it with the other team. I mean, yeah, gonna know who the circle guys are, the guys who, hey, I don't want this guy to beat us, and they got a good Friday night guy with a good slider. We know a lot of those things. I mean, there's going to be some things that you're obviously going to respect for the other team, but I just hope we learn a lot about our team this weekend. How to, does our lineup construction work? If they bring in a left-hander, are there any changes we need to make? So it's all about gathering information about your team, and you can do that whether you win or or don't win. But if we can learn and by having some success on the field, I think that'll go a long way for this team.
What about the differences between last year and this year? Last year, long conference,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of games, started it really quick. Here, you're going to be starting delayed
Mm-hmm.
by comparison to other conferences, and also very short as far as the amount of games goes. Is there a mindset difference going into that then?
The only thing that we've said about the conference play is it's going to be a sprint. You're talking about, normally it's traditionally it's been around 30 games. Now we're to 24. So I think they're every game's probably going to be magnified a little bit. It's not unheard of to have 24 conference games. I think the American had it for a while. Conference USA did for a little while. So what I don't know is what that magic number is. Used to the magic number, the 30 game conference schedule, 22 was the magic number to win the league, at least 22. It was 20 to finish second. You just kind of, you watch and you kind of know how those things work, stack up. But what's it going to be? Don't really know this year. It's one of those where we kind of learn as we go on a few things, just like we learned as we went last year with the 4 games and the 12 doubleheaders that we played at some point. You learn a lot about yourself. So I think we'll learn some things about kind of how that's going to be, and hopefully, again, the goal within the first 5 weekends to figure out what's the best way to put our team together. And it's not about the 9 best. Okay, it's about our best 9 that we put out there. So and that goes for the pitchers as well, on when to use those guys. And I told you guys this before. I thoroughly enjoy being around this team, and I think they want to do some things that have never been done. I think they're okay drawing their own roadmap. So I'm excited about them. I think they got a little bit of edge to them, and they don't mind. They're looking forward to playing somebody else.
This is, I believe, your 9th season, going into your 9th season as head coach. So nearly a decade at the helm. Do you still feel like a young coach, or do you feel like that the years of experience are sitting there? Where do you kind of sit mindset wise in terms of that?
There's times you feel really old, like you've been doing this a while. I would say last year aged me a lot in some ways. The kids are the ones that keep you young. Their energy, their not knowing certain things about the game that you get a chance to teach them, that is really fun. But also the chance to see guys grow up throughout the program. When you've been at a place where you go from recruiting a player to see them graduating, to see them going to professional baseball or getting married, having kids, they come back for alumni day, and you started the whole process. I mean, that's pretty special. That's pretty special. And I know that's not something that happens a lot in college sports, because whether guys want to move on to something different or what they would deem greener pastures, or also if they don't have the success. I think that there's a combination of things that have to happen. I've been very fortunate that there's Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana is home for me and my family, and it's a great community. There's so many just really great people here that I consider dear friends. And this is a place for our kids. Like both of my kids will have gone to one elementary school, by the end of this year. I mean, and the fact that they did that, I don't know how many coaches get a chance to say those things. But then, as far as being young and things like that, I think, I've joked about this before. I really am looking forward. I'm not in any rush to do this, but I really want to be the old guy one day. I really want to be the old guy, and it'll be fun, because that there's been so many great coaches that were, have had long careers and spent a lot of time in this game and gave back. And I was the benefactor of a lot of those, whether they were competing against me and they shared their wisdom like Tony Robichaux would do, or Paul Maneri, or Coach Bertman, or had a chance to work for Mark Johnson, when he was at the latter part of his career. So I feel very fortunate to be able to have done that. So, and this is a great place to do it. So I'm not sure where the question started, but that was kind of where it went. So,
and something with that too, just kind of looking over the watch. I can't speak for the first 2 years of your tenure here, but when you kind of think back to your teams, is each year its own year when you think back as a group? Obviously, going into a year, each year is each year, but kind of thinking back. Or do you think of it kind of as a run of your core of 4 guys? Because it seems like that 2017 regular championship was built the 2 years prior, and then the tournament team, and maybe they peaked a year early, it felt like, in terms of going in, then you can repeat, and that was the same core. And that feels like, again, a new core is having to kind of step up. Does that make sense? Do you kind of think of it that way?
No, I think when you're putting together a program, you're also thinking about longevity. I mean, you bring guys in, you obviously bring them in for a certain reason. They have a talent. You believe that they can help you win. Then to realize that talent, see guys improve, see guys make adjustments. From a program standpoint, sticking with those guys, and we've proven that with our how we've been able to retain players, whether it would be good or in the middle of adversity. Guys get better here. I mean, our coaches develop players want to get better here. It's a great environment to do that. You know, and then, you know, there's been guys that have left. I mean, it's not for everybody. Or maybe they just want different opportunities, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that, but, you know, I mean, you're right. Each team is their own. Each team is certainly their own in what they do. And I think you have to look at each team as their own, and what, you know, how they best, how the question you ask yourself is, how does this team win ball games? How does this team win ball games? And how can you use your players, you know, put them in the best ways? The guy, you know, we've tinkered around with, you know, Peyton Harden. Does he need to hit leadoff? Does he need to hit two? Where does Julian hit? Where's Trey Overgon best fit? You know, you gotta be willing to move a few things around. You got to be willing to lose a ball game. You don't have to lose it, but you got to be willing to lose a ball game early to hopefully win games late. And then so just the willingness to not be afraid of those types of failures, and being transparent with players about what you're looking at, you know, what you're trying to do. And it's a great group. I mean, I could do all I want to do, you know, or try to talk to them blue in the face, but the players, they're the ones that buy in. You know, they're buying what we're selling, and they want to be here. You know, and this group's different than last year's group in a lot of ways. That group was here when the storm hit, and the next storm, and then the next storm. Like they were already here. But this group, the hurricane was gone, but the storm's still kind of here. In a lot of ways, you can go out and see our facility and do that stuff, but they chose to be here. They were okay with the challenges. They were okay with that. So they obviously saw something that they wanted to either be a part of, continue to be a part of, and they're still here. And you know, so each group's got to be their own. Each group's certainly got to be their own, and I got to not be hard-headed, and I think that's really important to figure them out, and be open-minded, and not be a one-man show.
I think that's an interesting point. You know, some of the guys that you had up here that we've seen, guys like, you know, Julian, who was kind of the defensive whiz kid, you know, really made his name for defense. And, you know, now he's going to be asked to be even more of a leader, especially in the box. And then a guy like Peyton Harden, who really started as being the speed guy on the base pass. You start putting it back in your hand and you feel good. It's interesting to see those guys now are going to be asked to be the guys because they've earned the opportunity.
Yeah. You know, it was funny. They started to say it earlier, and they couldn't quite get it out, but they've heard this before. They were talking about the leadership of Raz and Jake Dickerson and Nate Fisbeck. You know, good leaders don't create followers. Good leaders create more leaders, and that's what's happened. And so you'll see, you know, a lot of those guys, you know, those guys may or may not be here next year, depending on professional baseball. I know Julian's going to exhaust his eligibility this year. And then you'll see other guys, you know, hopefully we're continuing to do the right thing, and guys, you know, continue to develop leaders with that. And so we'll see. You know, again, we didn't necessarily, you know, have, you know, guys that are new to the program here. I'd rather the game's hard enough. You know, the beginning of the season brings its own pressures. I'd rather not spotlight those guys right out the gate. I think they can, the spotlight will come to them, you know, and to be able to do that. But that's why those guys were here. They've been here. They've been in the fire. They've been in the fight. They'll and they're going to show guys kind of how to manage it.
Final one for me, if you don't mind. Kind of the same thing with, they've seen, both those guys have kind of seen the ups and downs of the program coming up, especially Julian, who saw the championship when, you know, he committed to the conference champions in the regular season. You guys had that run of a couple of years and then got back to the top. So they've seen what, I'm sure he's a guy, you know, a couple of those guys are seeing what it takes to kind of continue the stability and pick it back up.
Yeah. I mean, this game, I can't speak for other sports. Obviously, I'm partial to our sport and baseball, but it is truly every single day. No matter what, you could win 100-0, lose on a gut wrencher 2-1 on a walk off. The next day you show up, it's 0-0, and you know, we say yesterday's runs don't win today's games. And it's like, you know, yesterday's paycheck doesn't pay tomorrow's bills. So, I mean, it's that that's just how it works. And the ability to mentally move on and make the adjustments and find a way to be competitive and keep them motivated, and just no matter what's kind of in front of them. Yeah, I mean, I think they've seen that's what it takes. That's what it takes, not resting upon what we did last time, what we did things. And I know they like to talk about repeat, three-peat, all that kind of stuff. I've told them, hey man, I'm not defending anything. I said, because nobody's coming to get my stuff. Like, they ain't getting it. It ain't like a UFC title belt. I got to give it up. So they make new ones every time. So they ain't coming to get mine. So I told them I'm not defending anything. This team hadn't done anything. So that's kind of how I feel about it. So I don't know if they take my mindset on that, but that's kind of how I feel.
Have you thought much about what 31 more wins would mean to you?
Oh man, no. I mean, have I thought about that? Have I thought about that? Yes. Have I allowed myself to go down that path? No. I think that's the same way, that's the same way if you go play a championship game, you try to think about what you're going to feel like if you celebrate, so that's kind of one of those. So, but what a guy to chase. What a guy to chase. So.